Welcome to Secrets of the Art Business podcast. Practical tools, insightful conversation for the curious art professionals. I'm Daniela Duppen, your host for Season 1. I'm the founder of the Blonder Dealer blog and also an art professional for the past 15 years. I met some really interesting artists, curators, collectors, and professionals that I hope will give you some great insights into the art business. And why not? We're gonna find some great secrets. So join us for the conversation and for this incredible journey. Welcome to episode 8 of Secrets of the Art Business podcast. I have here in the studio today the art entrepreneur Adele Smejkal. Adele, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. And I wanted to bring you here on the podcast, Adele, today because you are an art entrepreneur and you also worked in galleries like Pace in London and also at SOTAB. So you have a sort of all-around experience as an art professional and curator. You also created your own platform, your own visual journal, Instagram, the AS Art Journal. And then last year, in 2020, you decided to found Artistellar. Artistellar is an innovative online gallery that wants to bridge the gap between the brick and mortar gallery, the traditional space, and the online gallery, but bringing some sort of innovative ways and curated space to look at art and see their way. So what brought you to, what is the path that brought you to create Artistellar? I love the name as well, so if you can tell us about that as well. And about, the background that really brought you to create this platform.
So I always had a vision or a dream to create one day a business on my own. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what is it going to be exactly. I didn't have a specific idea. I didn't know when it's going to happen. But then, during working at SOTAB and sitting there and overlooking online auctions that were becoming very frequent and very popular. Mm-hmm. I started thinking about the online sphere and how art has transformed to the digital sphere. So I started doing more research on what is on the market, outside of online auctions, what kind of online gallery platforms are there, and things like that. And this was even before COVID actually mm-hmm. started. So I kind of started gathering the idea that would be good to start something online. Mm-hmm. Because that's where we are headed based on my research and on my thinking. I believe that this is where we are headed. So I kind of started forming the idea, researching during evenings after work. And then when COVID happened, I was like, wait a moment, this is maybe the right time to actually really go full time. So I decided to quit. That was last year in April, so exactly a year ago. And I started forming the idea more, I started making it more defined. I started looking what galleries are doing during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. I saw that many are launching, online viewing rooms, and at the end of the day, it was just a 2-day website with a little bit of text, and I was like, okay, how is this a viewing room?
So it was all about the same that was created. So the galleries were trying to move online, but they were not doing it maybe in the right way.
Yeah, I mean, no, not necessarily in the right way, but I just felt like, how is this different? How is this bringing you more towards the real life experience? So I saw what galleries were doing, and then I also saw many platforms that are just typical e-commerce selling artworks as any other products. And I felt this is a shame. It's art. It should be somehow exhibited and shown online in a proper way with context. Mm-hmm. And with sort of imitated experience. So I was forming this idea last year ago, exactly a year ago, and put together something that would act as a real gallery,
But also being curated. You talk about the
Exactly.
fact that you didn't just want images, just scroll through images. You wanted more of a story, more of a context, right? You wanted to
Yes.
create. You really curate the content online, and I think it's really visible when you look at your platform and your exhibitions. And first of all, you just don't put the list of artists with the images. You create every time an experience, which is an online exhibition.
Exactly. So this was the core goal to actually have curated exhibitions, because to show that you can have a curated exhibition online, and so the focus was on emerging artists that are high quality and they're exhibited in the curated context of an exhibition.
Yes.
So yeah, you can say that I kind of transformed the regular gallery concept toward online. Um,
And also going beyond the fact that, of course, I mean, I've seen your online exhibitions, it is a white space. You have a sort of white cube digitally, but then how do you make that interesting? That's the question, you know? And it's, I guess, through the selection, of course, of the art and the way that you put it together and the stories that you create.
Exactly. So I believe that exhibition is formed not just, you know, based on the artworks it has, but it's also formed based on the interior around it. So obviously you don't have as much flexibility when it's online, but I try to adapt it as much as possible. So that's why I chose the platform
Matrix, yeah.
if I pronounce
Which
it
is
correctly.
interesting because, as a, I was saying, some galleries normally goes to like platform like Art Logic or others new ones that are coming, but Kunstmatrix, I believe it's quite interesting, and it gives you a lot of option. Like, how does it work?
Yes, so the reason I liked it is that it's quite minimalistic, but at the same time, it gives you certain flexibility. So you can choose from different rooms that are, from different interiors. If you prefer more white cube style or something that is more elegant, more sophisticated kind of look. So you can choose all these things, and you can choose, for example, color of the walls, and you can place sculptures. And you can even do custom-made things that are not even, on the menu, but you can request them on the site. So it has many options you can select from. So I thought this would be a great integration into my platform that I kind of designed basically the way I wanted, and added the virtual room as an external feature.
Yes, and so from your experience, of course, you launched your business in 2020, which is challenging year. But then, as you said, bringing everything online and the boom of online collectors and new collectors that actually found themselves, browsing and looking at art because they were at home and they wanted to maybe, enhance their collection or maybe start collecting. And what did you think it went well as your first year? Like, if you can bring us a reflection on, your first year in business. Of course, you had some challenges, so tell us about those aspects as well, and also the positives that came out.
So it was very interesting, a very interesting year. Many people were telling me, this is not the best time to start.
You're
It's
crazy.
COVID, you're crazy. But I felt like, no, on the contrary, now is the time when people will actually be, left with buying online because everything else is closed. So I thought it was actually a good point. And at the beginning, I have to say it was very, very hard because even though it's online, you cannot really meet with people and work on the projects with people in person. So I had to do everything over Zoom, putting the projects together with everyone over Zoom, which obviously makes it more difficult. And then when the platform was created and launched, I could not just go to networking events and art fairs to spread word about it.
So you had to be all online through your Instagram, social media.
Exactly. So I think this was one of the biggest challenges because you cannot have the connection with people and actually tell them what you're doing.
Yes.
And you're just relying on what is happening online and how you can promote it online. So the beginnings were very, very tough, but what gave me some hope was that on the basically on the second or third day of launching the platform, I almost made a big sale, but and it was from a person that I know. It was almost it was from a friend, basically. But then he later told me that he loved the piece and everything, but he realized that it's too big for his house.
Oh no.
But for me, even though it was unfortunate, at the end it was a good indication for me that I knew like I'm onto something. If you know,
Definitely.
because I had no idea that he would even go and check out the website. He just knew that I was working on it and almost got a painting. So I was like, okay, I have to give it a time.
Yes.
And
But you capture the attention, you capture, which is the
Yes.
most important thing. You got something different, and then you watching how people react to it, and you understand that, there's something there to develop, for sure.
Exactly. So it took some time, to also to gain trust from people, because it's when you're a new platform, I feel people struggle to, trust and be like, okay, I can trust this person, this gallery, that they are real, they're not a scam. So I think this is another thing that it's quite tricky at the beginning. But after a few sales, some people left Trustpilot reviews and spread their experience around, told their friends, and it kind of like you start getting
Momentum.
gaining
Yeah.
Yes, exactly, the trust, and it starts breaking. And then when I think it really started picking up was at the beginning of this year, I would say. I had a first show that actually got sold out entirely.
Amazing. Well done.
So that was a nice confirmation that, it is, I'm onto something.
Yes, you're doing something
And
right, for sure.
Something right. And what was also a very interesting indication was that there were people, the majority of people were not Europe-based. So there were buyers from the US and buyers from Australia even. So that really proved the point that people can buy art across the world, even when they never seen it before.
Definitely.
In person.
Definitely. And that proves a point to so many people who think that, art online, it's not successful, but I think it is for sure. And we are in the right moment for that. And you are a collector yourself. So you collect emerging art. You have a focus on that. And I was reading your really interesting suggestions for collectors, young collectors. How do you start? And of course, coming from your experience, yourself investing in emerging art, how do you see it? And what do you look for when you see emerging art? And what are the things that really come to your mind when collecting? And what are, again, maybe if you can repeat a bit about your tips, for someone who wants to start and maybe is a bit scared of doing it, maybe even online?
So I completely understand that this is a difficult or could be tricky journey for people that are not as familiar with buying art or even looking at art and things like that. But that's one of the reasons why I started Artistellar, because I wanted to, kind of teach people or show them how they can, collect art, and that art is really for everyone, that it's not elitist or anything like that, that you don't have to have a huge budget, because I think these are the, kind of misconceptions about art collecting, because it sounds a fancy word. So I myself started very, at the very bottom. I started with, maybe spending a 100 on a print or something like that. And obviously, the older you get, the more money you make, or the more you think about your investments. Should I rather spend it on a designer shoe, or should I rather spend it on a proper painting? So this is something that you need to find your way towards, and I'm trying to help with my platform to navigate people throughout this journey. And emerging art is the perfect place where to start, because it's affordable and it has the aspect of being it's great, good quality. You don't have to go to IKEA, buy 3 things in IKEA. You can buy one proper painting from a gallery, and you have an original piece of art.
And also the added value, like you said in your interviews before, like the added value of the provenance, coming from a gallery, knowing the
Exactly.
story behind it, knowing that the gallery actually already selected, went through the whole process of looking at, a lot of different artists and selecting this particular artist for this exhibition, like you do for your platform. And that's the added value of, coming through an expert eye like yours,
Definitely.
of, a professional and then also collector yourself,
Yes.
who believe in the art, in the artist and the art in the first place.
Exactly. So when many times I get asked, well, how do I know that this is a great work of art? So that's why there's existence of galleries, because we already select, we go through the process and we select the best there is. And we are doing that for you. And then it's just up to you to select from our selection whatever speaks to you the most. And obviously you can never say, okay, this artist is going to become a big star, but you know that this is a good quality because we are a gallery throwing a show for you. We are telling you all the information about the artist and why it matters and why it's important. We're telling the artist's story, and all these things add value to the artwork, which you eventually end up buying.
Absolutely.
And to answer your questions, to question about what I look at when I select emerging artists, it's obviously there are certain criteria, but it's not like I'm making ticks,
Yes.
checking boxes. It's more obviously I look at what kind of what they have on their CV. I read where they have exhibited before, what they studied, but I don't think that these are necessarily important. They're not the indicators for me if this is a good artist or not.
So you don't come with a preconception. So you don't say, oh, if they don't come from this art school, if they haven't done an MFA, they're not great artists. So you come with a more open mind saying, I just look at the art, I look at what you've done before, and if I believe that you have the potential for me, or if I find your art interesting, then you're like part of an exhibition or the platform.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it is something that everyone looks at, but it's not. I don't think it should be for anyone the main indicator. The same way you should not buy art just for pure investment. You should not look at artists only because what kind of degree they've done or not. You can be a great self-made artist without having studied grade school. So that is an example of our sold-out exhibition in earlier this year. I found this artist. I was her first solo exhibition, second exhibition in total. She has not studied art before. She was self-taught, and I really believed in her. And the result was a sold-out exhibition.
Amazing.
So it is the similar way as I think I mentioned that in the article you mentioned before, that it's the same way in business. You can be a great entrepreneur and you don't have to go to the best business school. You can, but you don't have to. There's so many people that started great businesses without having
Yes.
the best CV. So it's really not about that. It's more about what you feel when you look at the artwork. What do you feel? What it says?
What it says to you, the connection. What's your
Exactly.
connection? And that's a really personal journey, because each one of us is different, and so what attracts you to one artwork at a particular time in your life might be different, maybe a couple of years later. But in the way that you discover artists and contemporary art. So you mentioned that maybe Instagram, it's a powerful tool, but last year you also started a really great initiative, which is called Saving Emerging Art, or Emerging Artists, correct me if I'm wrong.
Emerging art.
Emerging
Yes.
art. So it's aimed to artists, gallerists, and curators to really help them through the struggles of 2020. Can you tell us a bit more about this initiative and also how you maybe discover new artists through this?
So this was definitely a great way to discover artists, and it was not even, pre-planned. It was a very spontaneous idea. I saw what the pandemic was doing to the art world, and I was like, how could I help people, in the art world, artists and small galleries and curators to help them, during those times when their shows are canceled and stuff like that. And I was like, I can use my platform, which has some following, and can use it for a good cause and, expose their work on, my stories and my feed and things like that. So I actually, it was kind of, started accepting submissions from artists and from galleries. And then I was basically, whatever I received, I was sharing with my audience. And I was doing this basically on a weekly basis and saving it in my stories. And through that, I actually, many artists reached out to me, and I started developing conversations with them and like looking more closely on their work. And some of them ended up being on Artistellar later on. So it was a great way how to discover new talents. And I really think that Instagram is a powerful tool in that sense, because it's visually oriented and, for seeing art.
Yes.
During pandemic, it was really...
So on the point of Instagram and developing your online presence and using Instagram as a powerful visual tool, you developed the AS Art Journal, which is a visual blog, which took you a couple of years to build up, but now you reached up to close to 18,000 followers, which is a great achievement, I would say. And I wanted to understand a bit better how you came to that and what was your journey through, your setting up of your online blog.
So I was not actually planning anything specific when I started the page. It was just to share, my passion for art and whatever I see when I go through galleries and art fairs. And it kind of started to develop. It took a few years to gain followers. I was not using any, buying followers or trying to get them in any weird way. But I was trying to, what I was doing, I think, and it was the main thing, was connecting with my followers and establishing those connections. And at the end of the day, Instagram did bring me many real connections with people. I met one of my really good friends, thanks to Instagram. And this is what it really can bring you. And it's important to engage with those people, to react to their comments, to react, but in real way, listen to what they also have to say and, kind of exchange this thing. And
so it's not just the hashtag that is important. It's not just about the likes that is important. And do you believe that brings you also business on the side, or do you think it's more about creating connections?
So it is a funny thing. In terms of my personal, or let's say as an art journal page, even though it has such a following, it has not, I don't think it's just brought me any sale leads or things like that, because the number doesn't necessarily mean, or you're gonna be making sales because you have many followers. It's in that case, it was more developing connections and working, getting hands on new projects, people contacting you about, all sorts of things, interviews or cooperating on projects. So that website, that page was more, important in that sense.
Creating connections, really.
Creating connections, exactly. Yes. But interestingly, when I, compared this to Artistellar's Instagram, which is just based, it's just a gallery, our gallery's website page, sorry. It has only like 2,000 followers. And from those 2,000, actually, I believe that there were few sale leads. And it's really interesting because, the ratio is so different, but it means actually that when people follow me on Art Journal, it's because they want to follow my journey and what I see and what I have to say about art. But when they follow the galleries page, it's more about that they maybe are interested in art and potentially buying something if they like it. Yes. So it is a little bit two different things. And I think it's important when you start a page to see what your goal is.
Yes, to keep that focus as well on and understand, why you're doing it. And what I like about your Instagram is that it is more about the experience that you have around art, but they're all very genuine. And I think it's always you alongside the art, always a human element, not just the art, which is also great for the connection point of view. But what I wanted to also ask you is, what is your secret of the art business?
So I have to say, there's no, secret magic that would make everything, work in your way. But what I believe, not just in my case, but anyone's case, is passion. I think that passion is the secret to anything you do. If you do it with passion, it is very more likely to work out than if you just indifferent. So I think that's it.
If you're an artist and you think that you need some extra support and help, we're here for you. And go and visit on SKT Space's website. You'll see a page where there's a section for a strategy call that you can book with me, and you can get some extra help and support, which is tailored to you, and hopefully it will make your art business thrive even more this year. Thank you so much for listening.